What I'd like to do now is to invite Alvin Kiew from Plantronics to come up onto the stage. Alvin is used to work for the same company, actually. Plantronics make headsets. And so they've really got into communications using headset technology so that you can be hands-free while you're doing other things, while you're communicating. But you've also done a lot of work in actually using your own technology and that of others to enable your own people to be working more effectively, which I think is what we're going to be hearing about this afternoon. So
right, exactly, Neil. Thank you. So thank you, Jason, for the quick introduction on, again, the smarter office. Well, what I really like to do to share with the delegates today is that of Plantronics' vision about smarter working, right? First and foremost, before I go into the foundations of smarter working, Tom is supposed to be presenting this portion of the vision to you, but unfortunately, due to some family emergency, he could not make it, so he sends you his apologies. He really wanted to be here. But regardless, I've been managing the business for Plantronics over 6 years, and what I really like to do in this particular presentation is not just share with you Plantronics' vision of the smarter working, the whole ecosystem, but also to relate my personal experience as a regional manager on daily challenges, managing the daily grind, managing remote workers, managing remote customers, okay? So let's talk about smarter working. The foundations of smarter working, there are three basic pillars, right? The first is really the bricks, basically the physical office space. Second, technology, the bytes, where, what kind of technological infrastructure we need to put in place to enable smarter working. And finally, behavior, the human factor, which will influence how people collaborate and communicate. And talking about communications, today, communications and collaboration is not just at the workplace. Interestingly, like I said, I would like to, again, associate some of my recent, findings, my recent work experiences with this particular presentation. It'll be interesting to note that today, we do not work only at the cubicle, at the office. I work extensively in hotels, sometimes airplanes, in the cars quite often. In fact, my recent new hire, the original interview was actually done in Starbucks. So I'm not sure how many of you can relate with me. But again, the office is anywhere convenient and conducive for work. Now, let's talk about Bloodlines next. Right, many of us check emails. The first thing, we wake up in the morning. Those of us who are BlackBerry addicts, crackberries, they call them, right? And I do check my emails just before I go to bed, just in case, I've got something urgent to clear, so that my US colleagues can pick up, whatever's urgent. And the lines between work and personal space is starting to get blurred all the time. So what can we do about it, right? And further on in the presentation, I'll basically link this to some of the concerns and considerations that IT should really think about before putting a plan in place to try to execute a smarter working environment for the organization. Now, what is smarter working? Well, if I were to define smarter working, it would simply be this, that today's workers are no longer production workers, right? We are knowledge workers. So we are looking we're looking at an objective. And we are looking at how is the best way to solve this particular objective. What do I need to do today to get the results done? Not so much of how many tasks I got to clear today, because that is, well, in some sense relevant, but less relevant to the overall objective of solving the problem. Right, and I need to do it in a collaborative manner where, first, I must be in the mood to want to collaborate. Sometimes I need to concentrate, sometimes I need to collaborate. Other times, like me, when I'm traveling in between locations, tomorrow I'm to be in the Philippines with a sales business review with my team. And unfortunately, some of those reviews have to be done off-site. Right, so think about it. Smarter working just means that we need to work in an efficient manner where we encourage our staff, our people, to maximize their capabilities in an environment that they want to be in. They're using the device that they're most comfortable with, using the tools that they're most comfortable with, not forcing them to use a tool, and they give up because, it's too much trouble trying to learn a new tool. Right, so grinding down into some of the details. First, we talk about bricks. Bricks is really the physical environment where we, kind of like, make it, some of our delegates now are sitting in some very nice, island cubicles and they're looking extremely comfortable. Well, think about this. Years ago, when home working was just a new trend, my Japanese and my Korean colleagues even if they're working from home, they dress up in a suit and they tell me, they got to put themselves in a mindset where this is work, even though I'm at home. So if you take a step back and you look at the workplace, similarly, we got to design workspaces, even in the office, for specific areas catered towards collaboration, some other areas towards flexibility, some other places quiet, for reflection. And you got to design spaces that would put the person in the mood for the right kind of activities, and of course, the right kind of work. So when you think about spaces and, especially if you're in facilities, think about not from your perspective of what the company, would like to plan it to be like, but more like what kind of mindset and how the space would influence the mindset of your people when they actually step in the office. Does it make it, for example, putting my sales team beside, let's say, the order management team, would that facilitate, the day-to-day activities, having an open area, or would really having a high wall cubicle, conference room type, would that make sense? Yes, you may have the same elements, but if you don't design your workspaces according to how your company flow and work, that would be missing the point. Right, next comes BYOD, the technology that would enable this whole infrastructure. Now, we all know about unified communications, right? But when we talk about some of the key details in technology, we're not just talking about instant messaging, texting somebody, but we got to consider not just local, but remote as well. As an example, my HQ in Santa Cruz, California, may have great bandwidth. Singapore, it's fine. But like the sales meeting I'm having in Philippines tomorrow, the Wi-Fi is really, really poor over where they are. So I can't even do a video conference. I have to go with audio. But similarly, I've got to plan to send my slides across in an efficient manner, or, for example, get my local admin girls to actually sync up the presentations on both sides, right, while using only audio that's live streaming. So these are the kinds of considerations when you put technology underlaying what you want your sales staff to do. In Singapore, it's kind of a perfect environment for work from home as well because of fiber to the home. But again, when we talk about collaboration, it's not just my side, it's also who else I want to talk to. Right. Just a recent example. My company, Plantronics, we have many global partners, right? We have this saying that 100% of Fortune 100 companies use Plantronics. That's a great marketing campaign. But over the course of the last 6 months, 12 months, we have actually really started using Microsoft Lync in a strong manner. And what this does is this. People from Oracle, people from HP can now look at my presence because I travel extensively. And I could be across all different kinds of time zones. They can look at my email address, look at my presence beside if it's red, yellow, green. And it says, hey, Alvin is online now, it's green. I can give him I am a ping. And I can actually use that technology to better communicate, not just internally with my colleagues, but also externally with customers now. So, technology. Last but not least, we talk about behaviors, okay? Mobility and social behaviors are really, really changing the name of the game for all of us today. Now, first, mobility. Where Wi-Fi used to be okay, when you have 2 or 3 people roaming around the office. Now you have 50 people roaming around the office. It's not that easy to manage good bandwidth for everyone, right? We've got to consider not just bandwidth, but we also got to consider quality of service, right? Quality of service for video or quality of service for audio. Now, all these things, we got to consider. And of course, social. Now, I may be from the slightly older generation, right? Where we consider that being online, being social, on the social networking is kind of, I'd say that, it's kind of a secondary priority. Some of my younger colleagues, though, they're always online. And the way that they are actually interacting internally to our own staff, our own people, really, they're using it. Facebook updates every 30 minutes, Twitter updates, every half a day. But from a work perspective, that's really important. For example, my product managers over in the US would update their personal Twitter feeds on product updates relevant to my region, and I see that on a push basis every 2-3 days. So that's really, really helpful, and social is really, really changing the name of the game. Okay, I'll talk about BYOD in just a bit on the next section, right? And what happens is that this BYOD means bring your own device, and from an IT perspective, there are many, many kinds of workers that you get to take care of. The mobile professionals, the office workers in the cubicles, as well as remote workers working from home or away from the desk like myself. And IT must consider these few key things, that more people are off-site now. Those people who are not off-site but comes into the office, they drop in, you've got to consider what working space to cater to them, what kind of technologies to cater to them. And finally, I know a lot of IT managers are very, very afraid of this, BYOD, bring your own device. We must embrace bring your own device, but we must manage it as well. So how are we going to manage it? Well, there are a few pillars for successful smarter working in the office. And the first is having the Wi-Fi, I already mentioned, considering the bandwidth and what have you. Security, encryption on your devices, encryption on the wireless devices, especially for banks, institutions, financial institutions. The policy, getting to your staff to say that, excuse me, if you want to use your Android device, that's fine, but do note that if you lose it, IT would actually wipe your whole device, including all personal stuff on your smartphone, so please do not get upset, things like that. Finally, training. And there are 3 basic types of training I'd like to share with you. 2 are very, very common to you, face-to-face meetings and web-based personal training, the web-based self-paced training. But the last you should really try is really informal, peer-to-peer social training, kind of the internal forums, kind of like between colleagues, you have using technology, how to get a technology advocate within your organization, one guy who's really, really living the technology and sharing that across forums with his colleagues to encourage the rest of your people to actually explode on technology. Okay, so this is really the ecosystem, really the last mile, I'd say, where the rubber meets the road, where you have unified communications platforms, social collaboration platforms, everything from smart TVs and integrated systems and audio devices. But take in mind that as far as we're concerned, the most important drivers to enable smarter working is really this, that we tend to think about, when we deploy unified communications and we think about smarter working initiatives, we think facilities, we think IT. But I think that there are 2 other departments at least that are very, very important in this whole ecosystem. The first is executives. If you deploy a particular way of doing things in a new manner, the executives must step up to say that you use the technologies yourself to show the people that you believe in it, it works. And a lot of our CIO, CXO executives here, we got to show our staff that we believe that it will work and we live and breathe by it. The next is, of course, interesting departments like HR. Why? Because if you think about it, you can't do a good work from home initiative or smarter working initiative if the HR don't back a flexible working scheme. They make the people that work from home feel like they're ostracized or feel like they would not get a promotion because they don't seem to be getting enough face time with senior management. Again, the policies from HR, very, very important. And finally, even legal. How to protect your staff, for example, from lost data, let's say confidential client data and everything, if you are working off-site. So these other departments have got to really be put in together to enable smarter working to be effective in the organization. So in summary, okay, the bricks is really the physical spaces that we need to actually think about. The bikes, really all the technologies that we need to put in place to enable smarter working within the organization. And finally, changing people's behavior is not difficult if the executives really take the lead to show the rest of the organization that we mean to use this technology. And finally, if that doesn't work, there are always the training methods to enable you to change their behaviors, to interact with their colleagues in a different way. So if you are able to actually manage all this, I can guarantee you that you'll be able to empower your staff to be able to draw every last ounce of creativity and effectiveness from a mobile workforce. So with this, I thank you. Thanks, Neil.